Yo. Hey guys, it's the friendship table for Times Are Changling. Aaron Young, American Choir Boy, and Dragonheart joining me to talk about friendly changelings of love
Oh boy.
and everything that could possibly go wrong with it. Now, originally I gave this episode a 6 out of 6 when originally reviewed,
Uh, get ready to change it again.
but just like last friendship table, we might have to revisit that score. So, Choir Boy, please, please tell me how this isn't a 6.
Okay, so it's a decent episode. Um, I like that they gave Spike the spotlight again. He hasn't had the spotlight too much, and every time he has, it's usually been kind of bad. I don't think he hasn't really had a great episode. Um, but for the theme, the
Gauntlet of
concept,
Fire.
yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that was pretty good one. You know what? This one doesn't quite top that, but anyway, it's a good concept. It does stand on its own. We get a changeling show up to the Crystal Empire, and of course everyone freaks out, rightly so. Last time changelings were there, uh, things got wrecked.
Didn't
So
exactly go well.
yeah. So anyway, so Spike goes out and he actually stumbles across them, and he wants a love and acceptance. And here is where the episode starts falling apart is they don't go into any detail on how a changeling truly operates. They just say they feed off of love, but they
And that
don't
they can
seem to.
change into anything and
Yeah, that
anyone.
too. But the idea that they feed off love, and it looks to be sort of involuntary, but by the end of the episode he just kind of overcomes this, like whatever.
It,
No
it's,
biggie. And
it's,
they don't. That's the thing of the episode that gets me the most because they don't explain, like it's like, hey, I want to be your friend. It's like, oh crap, and then they just kind of glance over that. It's not as bad as the Yaks where they destroy their pals for being really kind and generous. This
right.
is just kind of some kind of misunderstanding of how he works, and they don't explain it well.
Well, from what I observe of it from the previous episode, Canterlot Wedding, and especially from this, it's kind of like think of how Tierig in the season 4 finale was sucking energy up. It might
Right.
work similar to
Well, see,
that.
I actually understand exactly how they do it. I just don't understand um why per se,
It,
how he goes about is
Because
it
I
pure
honestly think
instinct?
that it was something
yeah, it,
strange.
it,
Looking at the changelings to me was kind of like I compared them to addicts,
it,
actually.
Oh wow, that's neat.
ooh,
How
that's
addicts
deep.
cannot stop once they taste something. Once they taste like a drug or something like that, they can't stop taking it. They have to keep constantly taking it in
Right.
Right,
order
but
to feel
he
better.
goes a
Changelings
long
are
time.
similar with love energy because they need to take it over and over and over again to be able to just be able to function.
Yes, but you could see it much like a form of photosynthesis, which I think
Yeah,
that's
or
what
something
they're
like that.
going for. Is
Well,
that
I don't think it's clear though why they need love, or like how it, because it
yeah,
seems like he's gone a long time without it.
yes.
And he
Uh,
doesn't, like as soon as he sees it, he's able to like fight back against it. So like how
It's like they try,
insatiable
like
is
I
it?
said, and that's why I brought up the addiction thing because it's like they're them feeding on love is not necessary. It's like it's an addiction
what it
that they have.
is if it's a very light amount of love energy, they could fight it, I guess. Fight
So
the
how does he overcome it when at the very end he's like, oh wait, I'm fine. Like what is that's just my problem. They
it,
rush into it. They don't
I
explain.
I think it's I think David's I think David's comparison to an addiction is an actual very deep and very thoughtful one because
Yeah,
So
I
it
think that this is
it
how they actually
it might be a mental thing.
did a cross comparison to actual addicts in real life.
It
Like, this is what they go through.
it might be a
okay, but then what is the alternative at the end though? He said something about he's able to absorb love without taking it, or he's able to cope without having to actually suck it away.
because
He's able to like absorb love without taking it from people.
es- essentially what they're saying is that instead of taking pure love energy kind of purely, it's now been converted into positive love energy. I I'd hate to use positive and negative like light and dark side, but I think that's what they're going for here.
So the act of him taking it is kind of the dark energy
Yeah,
that's
It's kind of
created.
like how
But if they
Chrysalis did it with Shining Armor, how she sucked the energy forcefully out of him.
right,
yeah, it's
but
Like
when they were
as
able to expel their love in a certain way, it was able to repel her. But this changeling, because he wanted to accept it, he was able to absorb it without stealing it.
you're able
I
yeah.
to absorb it without
now
hurting anybody.
let's go with that assumption, and try to continue from there. Let me see
Okay.
where my train of thought was. Um, it's like so at that point, it all comes down to Spike telling everybody to telling everybody that he's okay. But it was just I still think they glossed over the whole, oh, I'm gonna eat your love, and they didn't try to find a way to resolve that. Like,
Yeah,
hey, why
right.
why are you doing that? Is there some other way you can do it? They could have delved into that more.
Yeah.
And then the song I didn't really care for. It was
Uh,
just him standing in the spotlight singing a song over and over, blah blah, and everyone just looking at him with like, oh my gosh, what the
the,
heck?
the,
It's just such a weird moment. Everyone looking at him. There's no real reason for them to believe him other than his word, and it's just
yeah,
it's hard I would not blame any of them
It's
for just
kind
going
of a
like,
rush. That's the part that I had problems with, where I was like, okay, this is where they reached like the deadline, where they had 22 minutes and they had to get a conclusion, and they couldn't think of anything else of how to do it than
right.
this.
So, but yeah, like I was saying, it's like I wouldn't blame them for not taking his advice. Like, hey, he just bared his teeth at my baby 5 minutes ago, and we don't have any proof that we
Yeah,
need
like I
to. I don't
said,
know.
there's a problem with the ending.
Right.
yeah.
A lot of
Not
the
not going
resolution
into
feels
detail on
rushed.
not going into detail on how he overcomes it, and then just them going, hey, he's actually a good guy. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But
Because,
the message is there that just because somebody has a bad history or comes from a bad culture. I mean, if I may, we could even look at this as people coming from other countries. Like right now, there's a lot of fear based around people from other countries,
Prejudice, yeah.
especially Muslims. So I suppose this would be a great episode to touch on that. I think there's people in this world, even in my circle
That's
of
why
people,
me and
who
Lionel said it. Like we said, this
they
is a great message to teach,
r-
especially to children who the show is being marketed to.
right.
you
But
know, and
it's like you used to, because you see someone from a different country and their culture has a lot of bad things going on, you know, due to
Yeah,
political or religious influence. It's like you can't just instantly see. I don't live in a world where I look at someone and I think that person has a higher chance of doing wrong to me because of where they're from. I
right,
don't live in that world. I refuse to live in that world.
no,
It's
me
not
me
right.
neither.
And also, it shows the evolution of Spike as a character because he was willing to give up his almost celebrity status in the Crystal Empire
For somebody that
for
he's only known for a day.
pretty much a stranger. He was willing to put his celebrity status up.
And that's another thing with the whole idea of rushing it, because he kind of doesn't stand up for him, and then 2 minutes later he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'll stand up for you," and it's like, okay. So I guess that
Yeah,
this
and like I
episode was
said, remember 22 minutes.
I
it was
mean,
obscenely rushed. I guess
I
this
mean,
that's probably the worst part of
22
this
minutes.
episode.
They had to rush it for
but
what they did though. For having 22 minutes, it's great.
I mean,
They did get the
for the
point
fact
across
that it was
that
22 minutes that they had to do this.
I mean,
Spike did, do a big thing. It was like, hey, that people don't like this character. They want to banish him. But he's like, hey, we got to step up. And. So, yeah, it was pretty ballsy for him.
and
Yeah,
Thorax
it's like stop with the prejudice.
and Thorax is a likable character, and thankfully this introduction cashes in later in a
Yeah,
big
because he
way.
actually gets a lot more character later in the
In
season.
a big
Oh,
way.
that's nice. Did they ever do that with
A
the toe
lot more
tapping?
character.
Did they do that with the toe tapping character from that Cutie Mark episode?
Un-
Tender taps.
unfortunately,
Tender taps. We'll get to him later. We'll worry about him later. I don't, not the time for it.
but let's just say for Thorax's character introduction, it does an excellent job introducing him, especially after seeing what comes later. This episode has big importance to the end of the season in post-spec. But I can see a lot of the reason you're saying what you're saying, Aaron. And I really like, David, what you said about it, because that's a really deep and very adult way of deeper.
It's subtle. It's
intellect.
subtle, and it's underneath and it's subtle, but it definitely you can make comparisons to addiction through the changelings.
I mean, yeah, obviously. So I gave it a perfect score. I'm still gonna stick by that. Now, especially knowing what David just said, but Aaron, what do you give it?
I was gonna stick to 4.5.
Uh,
With the idea of it being addiction, with you guys giving a couple of opinions on that. It doesn't. It's not necessarily have to be explained. I just feel it shouldn't have been glossed over the way it was. But still, and at the end of the day, it was especially if you consider, people from different cultures coming to like this country and kids not being sure, it is a good message. It's a really good message, in fact.
Yeah, especially the kids who come to the U.S. and watch this show, and this may be the only amount of happiness that they get in their life.
yeah, considering how hard it is. But David, what do you score it?
I score it a 5 out of 6. The only reason it doesn't get a 6 is because, yes, a lot of the pacing is rushed because they had 22 minutes to write this episode.
Right. I think
Make every single bit count.
I think this could have been a mid-season two-parter, which they have never done before. I think there's a large case for that.
I think so, too. This could have been a two-parter, and it would have been justified in being a two-parter.
Well, the thing is, it's
but
a
like
change.
you said, Thorax and a lot of the questions, a lot of Thorax's character gets fleshed out later.
Right, but it's like it's a changing. It was kind of a major character, and the idea of them accepting them as, equal friends, that would be a big deal. So I agree with the idea that it could have been a two-parter. They could have done it.
Yeah, so that's our final word on this episode. Of course, there'll be a link to the original review in the description below. Make sure to follow the calls to action to see the playlist of other friendship tables as well as our current video, and make sure to screw over that YouTube glitch and hit the sub button so that we maintain our subs.
By the way, fuck that shit. It's not every day that I flip the bird, but I'm sorry. Fuck that shit.
So, until next time, find peace in your own nirvana and keep your...
And have a heart to think positively, for Christ's sakes.
Keep your stick on the ice.